She's not ignoring you, she's submarining, and going to come back. Hey there. Today, we're diving into a dating phenomenon that can leave even the most confident among us scratching our heads: submarining. For those unfamiliar with the term, submarining is when someone you're dating or talking to suddenly pulls back and goes silent, only to resurface later as if nothing happened. It's a frustrating experience that can leave you questioning everything about the relationship. But here's the thing, just because she's gone quiet doesn't necessarily mean she's gone for good. In many cases, submarining is a temporary dive, not a permanent disappearance. In this video, we're going to explore 9 key signs that suggest she's likely to resurface rather than vanish into the depths forever. From the way she communicates, or doesn't, to her social media activity and interactions with mutual friends, we'll help you read between the lines and gauge the likelihood of her return. Now, it's important to note that no one sign is conclusive and everyone's situation is unique. But by understanding these common submarining behaviors, you'll be better equipped to navigate the uncertainty and make informed decisions about how to proceed. So, whether you're currently in the midst of a submarining situation or simply want to be prepared for the possibility, keep watching. We're about to shed some light on this perplexing dating trend. Before we dive deeper, if you're looking to level up your dating game, click on the link below for a free 1-hour chat with our expert coaches. What is submarining in the context of dating? Before we dive into the signs, let's take a moment to clarify exactly what we mean by submarining. In the dating context, submarining is a term that's risen to prominence in recent years, particularly in the age of online dating and constant digital communication. In essence, it refers to a situation where someone you're dating or in contact with suddenly goes silent and drops off the radar, often without any explanation. This disappearance can last days, weeks, or even months. During this time, you might not hear a word from them, no texts, no calls, no social media interaction. It's as if they've submerged themselves underwater, completely out of reach and out of sight. Then, just as suddenly as they disappeared, they resurface. They pop back up in your life, often acting as if no time has passed and no disappearance ever occurred. They might pick up the conversation right where it left off, or they might offer a brief apology or explanation before moving on. Submarining can be a confusing and emotionally taxing experience, as it leaves the person on the receiving end questioning the status of the relationship and the reasons for the silence. It's a situation that requires patience, perspective, and a keen eye for the signs that suggest a resurfacing is likely. Sudden drop in communication. The first and perhaps most obvious sign of submarining is a sudden drop in communication frequency. If you've been talking to someone regularly, whether that's daily texting or weekly phone calls, and that pattern suddenly changes, it could be a sign that submarining is afoot. Here's what to look for. The drop in communication is noticeable and sustained, but it's not a complete cessation. She might go from texting you multiple times a day to once every few days, or from calling you every weekend to letting a couple of weekends pass without a word. This is a key distinguishing factor between submarining and ghosting, another well-known dating disappearance act. In ghosting, the communication stops entirely and permanently, the person vanishes without a trace, never to be heard from again. In submarining, however, there's still a trickle of communication, even if it's significantly reduced. This sporadic contact is what keeps the door open for a potential resurfacing. It's as if she's signaling, "I'm still here, just beneath the surface." Of course, a drop in communication could also be a sign of waning interest or a busy period in her life, but if it's coupled with some of the other signs we'll discuss, it's a strong indicator that submarining might be at play. Busy excuses. When a submariner does surface for air, it's often with an excuse at the ready, and more often than not, that excuse revolves around being extraordinarily busy. If you do hear from her during her submersion period, pay attention to how she explains her absence. Does she frequently mention work deadlines, family obligations, or personal issues that are consuming her time and energy? Does she emphasize how much she has on her plate and how little free time she has? While these excuses might be genuine, we all go through busy spells in life. Their recurrence is what raises the submarining flag. If every time you hear from her, she's apologizing for her absence and stressing her packed schedule, it suggests a pattern rather than a one-off occurrence. Here's the thing, if someone truly wants to make time for you, they will, no matter how busy they are. They'll find a way to send a quick text, make a short call, or plan a future meetup. Consistently using busyness as a blanket excuse for extended silences suggests that you might not be a top priority. So, while an occasional busy excuse is nothing to worry about, a string of them is a common sign of submarining behavior. Keeping your things. Here's a less obvious but potentially telling sign. If you've left any personal belongings at her place, pay attention to what happens to them during her submarine phase. If she's planning on resurfacing and continuing the relationship, she's likely to hold on to your things, whether it's a piece of clothing, a book you lent her, or a toothbrush you left for overnight stays. She'll keep these items safe, even if she's not in active contact with you. Why is this significant? Because holding on to your belongings suggests an expectation of future interaction. It's a subtle way of saying, I'm assuming I'll see you again, so I'll keep these here for when you need them. On the flip side, if she goes out of her way to return your things during her period of silence, it could be a sign that she's tying up loose ends and preparing for a permanent disappearance. Of course, this sign alone isn't conclusive. She might return your things for practical reasons or out of a sense of tidiness. But combined with other submarining behaviors, her treatment of your belongings can offer insight into her intentions and expectations for the future of your relationship. Occasional check-ins. Another common sign of submarining is the occasional check-in message. These are the texts or messages that pop up sporadically during her period of silence, often without any specific prompt or context. The content of these check-ins can vary. She might ask how you're doing, share a funny meme or article she thought you'd like, or simply say that something reminded her of you. The key is that these messages aren't part of a sustained conversation, they're standalone pings, often with significant gaps in between. So, what's the significance of these check-ins? On one level, they serve to remind you of her presence, even if she's not engaging in regular, in-depth communication. These messages signal that you're still on her mind and that she hasn't forgotten about you entirely. On another level, these check-ins can be a way of gauging your interest and receptiveness. By dropping a casual message, she can see how you respond. Do you reply immediately and enthusiastically, or do you take your time and keep it brief? Your reaction gives her valuable information about where you stand and how much effort she needs to put in when she does decide to fully resurface. So, if you find yourself receiving these sporadic, seemingly out-of-the-blue messages during a period of submarining, know that they're likely part of a larger pattern and strategy. If you're enjoying today's tips on dating, don't forget to like and comment. For a deeper transformation, consider our free 60-minute strategy call. You'll learn how to meet more women and date with newfound confidence. Click the link in the pinned comment to reserve your session. She likes your social media posts. In the age of social media, one doesn't need to be in direct contact to keep tabs on someone's life. This is a fact that submariners often use to their advantage. Even if she's not actively communicating with you, pay attention to her engagement with your social media posts. Does she consistently like your Instagram photos, react to your Facebook statuses, or retweet your Twitter musings, even during her submarine phase? This continued social media engagement is a way of maintaining a connection and presence in your life, even from beneath the surface. It's a subtle reminder that she's still there, still aware of what you're up to, and still interested on some level. Moreover, social media engagement is a low-effort way of keeping the lines of communication open. It requires far less investment than a direct message or phone call, but it still serves to maintain a link and leave the door open for future interaction. Of course, social media engagement alone doesn't guarantee a submarining situation. Some people are just avid likers and reactors. But if her social media activity persists even as her direct communication dwindles, it's a sign that she might be employing submarining tactics. She responds when contacted. Here's another key distinguishing factor between submarining and ghosting: response to contact. When you reach out to a submariner during their period of silence, they're likely to respond, even if their response is delayed or brief. This is in stark contrast to ghosting, where any attempts at contact are met with radio silence. A ghoster will typically ignore your messages and calls, making it clear that they've cut off communication entirely. A submariner, on the other hand, will usually reply when directly contacted. Their response might come hours or even days later, and it might be shorter or less engaged than their pre-submarine communication, but they will acknowledge your outreach. This responsiveness, however limited, is another way of keeping the connection alive and the possibility of resurfacing open. By replying, even minimally, the submariner signals that the line of communication isn't completely severed, just temporarily muffled. Of course, the content and tone of the response matter too. If her replies are consistently curt, disinterested, or apologetic about her lack of communication, it suggests that the submarining might be a prelude to a more permanent fade-out. But if her responses, however delayed, still show engagement and interest, it's a sign that the submarining is likely a temporary dip rather than a final dive. Checking up on mutual friends, submariners often employ indirect methods of keeping tabs on you, and one of these is through mutual friends. If you share a social circle, pay attention to any unusual or sudden interest she shows in your shared acquaintances during her submarine phase. She might reach out to these friends to ask how you're doing, what you've been up to, or if you've mentioned her at all. She might try to gather information about your current dating life, your work situation, or your general well-being. This behavior serves a few purposes. Firstly, it allows her to gather information about you without having to directly engage. She can get a sense of where you're at and how you're faring without breaking her submarine silence. Secondly, it serves as another reminder of her presence. Even if she's not communicating with you directly, making herself known in your social circle keeps her on your radar and prevents you from forgetting about her entirely. Finally, it can be a way of gauging your feelings and reactions. If you express concern, confusion, or frustration about her absence to your mutual friends, she'll likely catch wind of it and factor that into her submarining strategy. So, if you start hearing from shared acquaintances that she's been asking about you, take it as another sign that a resurfacing might be on the horizon. Keeping the door open, when a submariner does briefly surface for air, pay close attention to how she ends your interactions. Does she close the conversation with definitive plans or clear expectations for when you'll talk again, or does she leave things open-ended and uncertain? Submariners often opt for the latter approach. They might end a text conversation with something like, "It was great catching up, let's talk again soon," without specifying when "soon" might be. Or they might say, "I'd love to get together when things calm down," without offering any concrete timeline. These open-ended closings are strategic. They allow the submariner to submerge again without making any definite commitments, while also suggesting that the silence is temporary and that future contact is intended. It's a way of keeping you on the hook without actually promising anything. It maintains the possibility and expectation of continued interaction, even as it leaves the specifics vague and non-committal. In contrast, if she ends your interactions with clear plans or firm commitments for future contact, it suggests that her submarining might be coming to an end and that she's ready to resurface more fully. So, as you analyze your communications for signs of submarining, don't just focus on the frequency and content of the messages, but also on how they conclude. The endings can often reveal a lot about her intentions. Reappearing with apologies, the defining feature of submarining is the eventual resurfacing, and this is often accompanied by a flurry of apologies and explanations. When a submariner finally decides to fully resurface and re-engage in consistent communication, they typically acknowledge their period of absence and offer justifications for it. These can range from the aforementioned busy excuses to more personal revelations about stress, family issues, or mental health struggles. The key here is that the apologies and explanations are offered as a way of contextualizing and excusing the submarine behavior. They're designed to elicit understanding and sympathy, to paint the silence as a necessary response to difficult circumstances rather than a reflection of disinterest or disregard. These resurfacing messages often also include expressions of continued interest and desire to reconnect. The submariner might emphasize how much they've missed you, how often they've thought about you, or how excited they are to finally be able to focus on your relationship again. The sincerity of these sentiments can be difficult to gauge, and it's up to you to decide whether the apologies and explanations feel genuine and sufficient. But their presence is a clear sign that the submarining period is coming to an end, and that the submariner is seeking to re-establish regular contact and potentially deepen your connection. So now that you know how to recognize those signs, what's next for you? Discover the signs she thinks you're good-looking or learn the things you should never do when a girl looks at you. If you've made it this far, my love, comment below with the word 100% or something else to let me know, to confirm that you've received the knowledge from the video so far. For more interesting topics, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video and share it later. Let's continue. When a girl looks at you, never do this. Picture this, guys, you're out and about, maybe at a party or just hanging with friends, when suddenly you lock eyes with that girl you've been crushing on hard. Your heart skips a beat, your palms start to sweat, and your mind races with the eternal question, what do I do now? In that crucial moment, it's all too easy to let nerves take over and make some classic blunders that can tank your chances before you even get a word in. But fear not, because in this video we're going to arm you with the knowledge to navigate this delicate situation like a pro. We'll be diving into 8 common mistakes guys make when their crush catches their eye and, more importantly, what you should do instead to keep that spark alive and kickstart a genuine connection. So whether you're a seasoned flirt or a newcomer to the dating scene, get ready to take some notes. By the end of this video, you'll be equipped with the do's and don'ts to turn that shared glance into something truly special. Before we start, anyone looking to revamp their dating approach, click the link below for a free 60-minute strategy call with one of our coaches. Ignore her smile. First up, let's talk about the power of a smile. When your crush catches your eye and flashes you a grin, it's like a golden invitation to connect. But all too often, guys get caught up in their own heads and let this precious moment slip by. Here's the thing, if you ignore her smile or fail to return it, she's likely to interpret that as a lack of interest on your part. She might think you're too shy, too aloof, or simply not into her, and that can be a real connection killer. Instead, when she smiles at you, mirror that energy right back at her. Let your face light up with a genuine, warm smile that says, "Hey, I see you, and I'm glad you see me too." This simple act of reciprocity can be incredibly powerful in establishing a sense of mutual interest and rapport. Now, this doesn't mean you need to flash a huge, cheesy grin or go overboard with enthusiasm. Just let your smile be authentic and let it reach your eyes. Show her that her smile made an impact on you and that you're open to engaging further. A well-timed, sincere smile can be the spark that ignites a conversation, so don't let that opportunity pass you by. Embrace the power of a simple smile to show your crush that the interest is definitely mutual. Avoid eye contact. Next up, let's discuss the delicate dance of eye contact. When you catch your crush looking your way, it can be tempting to immediately glance away out of shyness or nervousness. But here's the problem with that approach, it can come across as a lack of confidence or interest. Eye contact is a potent form of nonverbal communication. It's a way to establish a sense of connection, to show that you're present and engaged in the moment. When you meet your crush's gaze and then quickly look away, you're sending a message that you're not quite ready or willing to engage. Instead, when your eyes meet, hold that eye contact for a beat or two. Let yourself be present in that shared moment of connection. This doesn't mean staring intensely or making her uncomfortable, but rather allowing the eye contact to linger just long enough to create a sense of intrigue and possibility. As you hold her gaze, pair it with that warm smile we talked about earlier. Let your eyes convey a sense of friendliness, openness, and confidence. Show her that you're happy to be sharing this moment with her and that you're not afraid to connect. By mastering the art of eye contact, you're laying the groundwork for a more meaningful interaction. You're showing your crush that you're confident, present, and ready to engage, all highly attractive qualities in a potential partner. Look at your phone, picture this all too common scenario. You're sharing a glance with your crush, feeling that exciting spark of connection, when suddenly you get nervous and instinctively reach for your phone. It's a natural impulse, a way to break the tension and give yourself something to do. But here's why it's a big mistake. When you prioritize your phone over the person in front of you, you're sending a clear message, something on this screen is more important than you right now. It's a surefire way to make your crush feel unimportant and unvalued, and that's the last thing you want in that crucial moment of connection. Instead, keep your phone in your pocket and stay fully present in the moment. Give your crush your undivided attention and show them that right here, right now, they are your top priority. Let yourself be fully engaged in the shared experience of that eye contact, that smile, that potential for something more. By keeping your phone out of sight and out of mind, you're demonstrating a level of respect and interest that is incredibly appealing. You're showing your crush that you value their presence and that you're not afraid to be fully engaged in the moment with them. Remember, that shared glance is a precious opportunity for connection, don't let a screen steal that moment away. Stay present, stay engaged, and let the magic happen. Act disinterested. We've all heard the dating advice that playing hard to get is the way to go, and while a little bit of mystery can be alluring, there's a big difference between being coy and acting straight up disinterested. When your crush looks your way, it can be tempting to play it cool, to act aloof and unaffected. But trust me, guys, this is a risky move. When you act disinterested, you risk giving your crush the impression that you're just not that into them. They might interpret your coolness as a lack of attraction or a sign that you're just not worth the effort, and that's the last thing you want when you're trying to spark a connection. Instead, when your crush looks at you, let them see that you're engaged and intrigued. Lean into the moment, both literally and figuratively. Turn your body towards them, give them your full attention, and let your facial expressions convey your interest. This doesn't mean you need to come on too strong or seem overeager. It's all about striking a balance between showing interest and maintaining a sense of self-assurance. Let your crush see that while you're definitely into them, you're also confident and comfortable in yourself. Remember, genuine interest is incredibly attractive. By showing your crush that you're engaged and excited about the potential of your connection, you're inviting them to take the next step with you. So ditch the disinterest and let your authentic enthusiasm shine through. Overthink your actions. When you're face-to-face with your crush, it's natural to feel a bit of self-consciousness. You want to make a good impression, so you start overthinking every little move you make. But here's the thing, when you get too caught up in your head, you risk coming across as awkward or inauthentic. Picture this, your crush smiles at you, and suddenly you're acutely aware of your hands. What do you normally do with your hands? Should you put them in your pockets, cross your arms? You become so focused on micromanaging your movements that you lose sight of the moment itself. Here's the key, try to relax and let yourself be natural. Trust that your authentic self is more than enough to make a great impression. Instead of worrying about every little gesture, focus on being present and engaged in the interaction. This means really listening when your crush speaks, responding with genuine curiosity and interest. It means letting your body language flow naturally from the emotions you're feeling in the moment. If you're excited, let that show in your lively expressions. If you're feeling a warm connection, let that translate into a gentle lean in their direction. Remember, your crush is looking at you because they're intrigued by the real you. So don't get so caught up in trying to craft the perfect version of yourself that you forget to actually be yourself. Relax, stay present, and let your authentic charm do the work for you. Liking what you're hearing? Hit the like button and drop a comment. And if you're curious about taking your dating skills further, our free 60-minute strategy call can help you learn to meet more women and date with confidence. Click on the link in the pinned comment to find out more. Act arrogant. Confidence is attractive, but there's a fine line between self-assurance and arrogance. When you're trying to impress your crush, it can be tempting to puff out your chest and put on a bit of a show. But be careful, because coming on too strong can be a real turnoff. Picture this, your crush catches your eye, and you think, alright, time to show them how cool I am. You start bragging about your accomplishments, dropping hints about your popularity, maybe even negging them a little to show how in demand you are. But rather than being impressed, your crush is likely to be put off by this display of ego. Here's the thing, true confidence doesn't need to be loud or showy. It's a quiet, steady sense of self-assurance that comes from within. When you're secure in yourself, you don't need to prove your worth to anyone else. So instead of trying to impress your crush with arrogance, focus on being genuinely self-assured. Speak about your interests and passions with enthusiasm, but also take a sincere interest in theirs. Be proud of your accomplishments, but also be quick to celebrate the successes of others. Show your crush that while you value yourself highly, you also value them and the connection you share. Confidence is about lifting yourself up, but arrogance often involves putting others down. Choose the high road and let your authentic self-assurance shine through. Touch your face constantly. When you're nervous, it's natural to want to do something with your hands, and for many of us, that something often involves touching our faces. Maybe you brush your hair back, rub your chin, or fiddle with your ear. But when you're interacting with your crush, excessive face touching can be a major distraction. Here's why. When you're constantly bringing your hands to your face, it can signal to your crush that you're feeling anxious or uncomfortable. It might make them wonder if they're making you nervous or if you're not enjoying the interaction. Plus, all that movement near your face can draw attention away from what you're saying and the connection you're trying to build. Of course, the occasional face touch is no big deal, we all do it from time to time. But if you find yourself reaching for your face every few seconds, it's time to consciously redirect that energy. Instead of touching your face, try channeling that nervous energy into your conversation. Use your hands to make expressive gestures as you speak, or if you really don't know what to do with your hands, simply let them rest comfortably at your sides or clasp them loosely in front of you. The key is to be aware of your face-touching habit and to make a conscious effort to keep it in check. This will help ensure that your crush stays focused on you and the moment you're sharing, rather than getting distracted by your nervous tics. Ignore social cues. Finally, let's talk about the importance of reading and responding to social cues. When you're interacting with your crush, they're giving you all sorts of nonverbal information about how they're feeling and how the interaction is going. If you ignore these cues, you risk making them uncomfortable or missing out on opportunities to deepen your connection. For example, let's say you're chatting with your crush and you notice they keep glancing away or crossing their arms over their body. These could be signs that they're feeling a bit uncomfortable or closed off. If you ignore these cues and keep barreling forward with the conversation, you might make them feel even more uneasy. On the other hand, if you notice your crush leaning in towards you, maintaining eye contact, and smiling frequently, these are all green lights that they're enjoying the interaction. By recognizing and responding to these positive cues, you can keep the good vibes flowing and potentially take the conversation to a deeper level. The key is to be observant and responsive. Pay attention to your crush's body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. If you notice signs of discomfort, take a step back and give them some space. If you see signs of engagement and interest, lean into that and keep the interaction going. Remember, successful social interactions are all about give and take. By tuning into your crush's cues and adjusting your approach accordingly, you show them that you're attentive, respectful, and socially savvy, all highly attractive qualities in a potential partner. So now that you know what to do in this situation, what's next for you? Discover the psychology of ignoring a woman, or learn the signs she wants you to touch her. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.